Today we're going to work on this fall wreath kit right here. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Juliana with Diycrafts Studio, Season of Wreaths and Holiday Decor. And you heard me correct. I said wreath kit. We are working on a wreath kit. And this is the one that we're going to be making right here. It is an elegant fall kit and it is actually available right now on my website. Now, why did I decide to come on live with this kit? Two things. I had the privilege and honor of recently hosting an in-person event where we made this wreath. And then I realized something. Whenever I have created kits that I have sold, they are usually for wreath makers that have more experience, right? Because if I sell you the kit, it has everything that you need to make the final design. However, going to an event where you have a lot of inexperienced people, we supply everything for them, right? So I said, hey, there's got to be something to this. I should be able to create the same experience for people that are at home. So what I realized was, if you're at home and if you just want to create something and you want to work on a grapevine wreath for the first time, you don't want to have to go out and buy a whole pack of wooden floral picks. You don't want to have to go buy a whole pack of zip ties. You don't want to have to buy all this extra stuff that you really don't need. Well, in the future, right? You're just going to use it for that one time. The people at the event did it, right? And that's when I said, okay. So being that I had a few left over, I said, why not offer them as a full kit? And that way, anyone who wants to have the experience of creating this event, creating this wreath, will be able to follow along with the tutorial, because of course I always have to include a tutorial. And then where you could make it your own. You can make it on your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go step by step, same way I did at the event, except with all the fun bantering and talking, because it's just me here, or unless someone comes online, you will see me, or you could probably see the comments. Just me going through the steps. The great thing about following videos is that if I'm going too fast for you, you could stop it, slow down. If I'm going too slow for you, fast forward. It's a video. This video is going to be included with the tutorial. Well, I'm sorry, the tutorial with the wreath kit. When you buy, you're going to have the link for it, so that way you can find it quickly, because it will be uploaded most likely to my YouTube page, where you're going to be able to see it as long as you have it, because it's going to be there. The link will most likely be private. So this again is what we're going to be making, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to go through the steps. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the back and show you. Now, so you get your kit, right? It's going to show up in the box. And what I'm saying is that I'm actually including the grapevine. That's what I'm saying. When wreath makers, when we buy kits, which we all do, I still buy kits, we don't get the grapevine. So that's why I made this easy peasy for people that are beginners and just want to have fun. So when you receive your kit, oh, things are falling out. You're going to receive the first three main things that you need, which are, usually we get this, right? These are the main items. You get these seed things, but I'm including everything. So we're going to have the grapevine, right? You're going to have the grapevine, which is awesome. You're going to receive your main floral bush. You're also going to receive the filler that you need. This is a filler, autumn filler spray. And then the ribbon. Now, what's beautiful about the ribbon is that I gave you exactly what you need. I did not include 10-yard roll, which is what usually happens with us wreath makers. If we buy something, we have the 10-yard roll. That's why this is catered mainly for someone that's a beginner and knows exactly what they want. They don't want to have anything extra. Me being a wreath maker, when I buy a kit and I have extra ribbon, I'm going to use it eventually, right? But a lot of times, those of us who are not going to use something in the future, it just sits there. But the good thing is that if you, in the future, end up buying wreath kits that are made mostly for wreath makers, you're going to be able to, today I hope that you learned something that you're going to be able to use in the future, which was what I loved about the event that I had, that I was actually participating because I was invited to be the guest there. They learned how to make a bow. They learned how to work with a grapevine. You go to the craft stores, you see these things, and it's like, they have so many things. Like, I don't know the sculpting stuff. I've painted before, so I know the painting stuff, but I know the sculpting stuff. I know the whole grapevine and floral wreath kit part because I've been doing this for 10 years now. So that's the difference, that you learned a skill and you're going to be able to hopefully move forward and continue to do something with this. So that's always my goal, that you learn something, you have fun, and you'll be able to keep creating and decorating your home. And you also save money, right? Okay, So like I said, these are the first three things that you have. You have your continuing, you have your grapevine, you have the main floral bush, which is usually what drives the design, right? You have the spray, the floral filler spray, and the ribbon. The ribbon you're gonna get 2.5 yards. That's all you need for this wreath. 2.5. You do not need a 10-yard roll. 2.5. And when you receive it, you might see that there's like different types of holders for it, because I tend to keep them and then I like to reuse them when I sell kits. Then those are the main pieces that we have. Then we have the mechanics. The mechanics are the things that put the wreath together. You need to have floral wire for your bow. It's a little bit of floral wire. You don't need a whole 300 feet or 300 yards. You don't need, let me see, for example, you don't need this. You just need this, right? Got it? Okay. You need just the right amount of floral picks, depending if you decide to go with the design that I made. We'll talk about a little bit more about that. But you should have 10 floral picks here. You have coiled hemp wire, depending, and I like to educate. So if you go to the craft store, depending on who you're buying it from, everybody calls it a little bit different. So this could be hemp wire, this could be coiled wire, this could be corded wire. There's like 3 different names that you have for this. Coiled wire, corded wire, hemp wire. Yeah, you got it. You should find it when you look up one of those names. A zip tie. The zip tie I'm not going to use in this design, but given that when we were working on this at the event, we had everyone went in their own direction. That's what was beautiful about it. Everyone took it in their own direction. I'm giving you the basics. I'm teaching you how to open them, how to take the bushes apart and then work with it, and then you take it in whatever direction you want. We had a couple of people that took it in a completely different direction, and someone actually needed to use these. So I was going to include one. I'm going to include 2 because I remembered that one person ended up needing 2 of them. So I'm going to include 2 of these in with your kit. I had listed as 1, but now it's going to be 2. Also included is a popsicle stick. The popsicle stick is like, why do you need a popsicle stick? This is to help you work. It's a grapevine. Sometimes when you need to get things through the grapevine, you may not need it, but you might need a little bit extra help. So the popsicle stick will help you push the vines a little bit if you need to, and then slide the pick or the wire, whatever you need to slide through. That's why I like to include a popsicle stick, because it just makes your life a little bit easier and also helps with like any potential burns, right? So that's that. Finally, one last thing that I'm going to be included. Oh, actually, so 2 last things. I'm going to include some leaves. Why leaves? Leaves is because I like to clean up the back of the wreath. Once you finish your wreath in the back, you might be having some of the floral picks sticking out, some of the wires sticking out. You want to cut those, right? Remember, you don't want to damage your doors or your walls, wherever you hang these. So we want to cut them, make them nice and clean. I'm going to go through that again as we go through, and then cover them with these. These are very large. The sizes vary. You may not get exactly these in your kit, but they're going to be 4 or 5 of these, depending. Now, what you could do is cut them. A lot of times I don't have the right size for these, but I do like to include them. So what I do is I cut them. I just follow the same line, and then I make them a little bit smaller, because this is not an 18-inch grapevine, which is obviously 4 inches bigger than the 14-inch that we're going to be working on. So you might need to cut these. I did have some guest participants at the event that left it big. They liked it like that, and they liked the fluffy on the back. Hey, it's your wreath. You make it however you want. I'm just here to give you basics, right? Okay, and then the last thing that I thought of this because I did it at the event, and like I said, it's a total wreath kit. You have everything here for you. But then I thought, well, all you need are your tools. You do need some tools. That is not included. But then I realized that I'm going to include a card that is going to be about 13 inches long with measurements on it. The measurements are going to be so that way when you're working with your wreath, you know where to cut your ribbon. You do not need it to be, and where to cut your bush. You may have already a cutting mat, you may have a ruler, but I don't want to assume, because I'm telling you everything's included except the tools that you need. So what if you don't have a place to cut? What if you don't have a ruler. Sometimes that's the one thing, the measuring tape. Hey, that's my the measuring tape is the one thing that you're always looking for, right? So the measuring tape is, since if you may not have it, you may not find it, then that's why I'm including a little cardboard with the measurements on it. So that way you know exactly where to cut and what to do, and it's nice and easy, and then afterwards you could toss it, keep it, whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's going to be what's included in your kit. Now, in terms of, oh no, I forgot one more thing. I forgot it because I pushed it aside. Floral tape. Floral tape. Floral tape is the only item that's going to be a full roll. I thought about cutting it, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with floral tape, yeah, I mean, it wasn't cost effective to include the whole roll, but it's not functional. It doesn't make sense to cut it and then try to wrap it up against something. I could, but I figured, you know what, I'd rather just you have the whole roll than to get something, end up receiving something that in the end is not going to work for you, because you may actually need it. Some of the ladies at the event did not use it. They just went for it and didn't use it. But I'd rather you have it and let it be useful than to not have it or receive it and then not be able to be worked with. So that's something that is also, but you're going to get a full roll of this. Who knows, you may never use it again, but unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but you're going to have something that you may go in just in your, that drawer in the kitchen where you just throw things. This may be one of those things. Okay, so those are your supplies. Now, in terms of your tools, let's work on your tools. Well, let's show you tools. The tools that you need for your event or to make your wreath are going to be a scissor. You're only going to really need it for like 3 or 4 cuts, but you need a scissor. Okay, you need your scissor. That's mainly to make your bow. You need floral wire cutters. It doesn't have to be floral wire cutters. If you have wire cutters, like, let me see, I have these heavy duty Craftsman's one. Go into your dad's, your spouse's, whoever's, go into the garage, find one of these. These will work. These will work. The only thing with these is that they're strong, they're good, but they don't have that little kickback that these have. They don't spring. It's fine. Just use these. But you should have should be a little bit stronger. You need that. And then finally, you need a glue gun. You need a glue gun with glue sticks, right? I have a simple mini glue gun. I don't like getting burns. So this is what I have. I have a simple glue gun with, that's it. That's all it is. A simple glue gun with glue sticks, because I don't like to get the big ones. I do have a big one. I don't really use it so much because it hurts. The burns hurt. So just a glue gun, and have plenty of glue sticks. Okay? If you get a small pack of glue sticks, that should be more than enough for you. Alright, so let me just make sure before we continue and start working, let me just make sure, because I am live, and I want to make sure that I see any comments in case anybody does come on, if they have any questions. Okay. So let me refresh here. Hope everyone's doing well. I actually am not expecting anyone here. It's a beautiful Saturday night in August, so wasn't expecting anyone. Hola, señor. Muchas bien. ¿Cómo estás? I always got my family on here with me. Okay. Not expecting anyone here. It's a beautiful Saturday night. Okay. All right. So we're set up. We're set up. So now let's work on the wreath. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do, and this is exactly the way that I like to teach the class. And I do it myself. That's why I like to teach exactly what I do. We're going to have our grapevine. And the first thing you do with the grapevine is determine where do you want to work? Where do you want to work? What direction do you want to work? You may look at this and see that it obviously has 2 sides, right? 2 sides. Which side do you like to be in the front? Is the front side of it prettier? And yes, it does make, yes, you might say, like, what is she talking about? You're going to look at it. If you're following along with a kit, take out your grapevine and look at it. Well, actually, even before I get started with that, you're going to take a moment to clean your grapevine. Not every grapevine is clean. This one, I already took some time to clean it. I'm going to put a link to a video where I am working on a grapevine, so you could see how I clean a grapevine. Some grapevines you receive have tons of stuff in them. Leaves and twigs, and looks like hay. Even this one still has a little bit in here. Like, look at this. See, it has little pieces. So some people like that. I personally do not like that. Some people like that it adds a little bit more of the rustic look to it. I personally don't. But before you even get started, please, I should have actually said that before. Take a moment. If you want to pause this and come back, clean your grapevine. Clean your grapevine. If you like it the way it is, then go for it. I am trying to clean the kits a little bit. The grapevines are included in the kits a little bit for you. So that way when you get it, you're not getting all stabbed. Like these wreaths could be a terror, let me tell you. Like you have, I'm looking around. You see me looking around because I'm trying to find one that hasn't been touched. I have some 18 inches, but it's gonna take too long to get to them there. But they get, wait, let me show you. Let me see if I have one here. This one was already cleaned up a little bit. I already cleaned this one up a bit, but even though I cleaned up a little bit, you see that it still has like these twigs and stuff. Like they get really, really bad. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. But you're gonna want to clean it. So take a moment to clean your wreath a bit. You're gonna use your tool and just cut. Just cut everything that you feel like it's sticking out. Right? Take a moment to do that. It's a good skill to have, or a good habit to get into if you start doing this for yourself. Because think about it. Even if you do this in order to sell, you don't want this to end up going in someone's home and then scratching up, or even your own door, right? You don't want it to scratch up your door. You don't want to scratch up your walls. So let's make sure that we clean them. You see me constantly running my hands through the wreaths, especially the backs, because I close my eyes, I feel, and I'm like, oh, that's a bump, and I trim them. Yes, we're gonna be covering them with the leaves later on, but it's just easier because some of them are a little bit too long, too big. So let's take care of that first. All right. Yeah, and then when they're too long, too big, then a leaf is not really going to do much for it. All right, so once that is done, once you cleaned your wreath somewhat and you're happy with where you are with that, you're going to look at your wreath and you're going to say, look at your grapevine. Where is the top? Which is the direction that I want it in? Mine is actually a little bit egg-shaped, if you see that. So, excuse me, it's a little bit easier for me to determine which is my top. So I want this to be my top. Maybe you want this to be your top. No matter how much if you try to get your wreath as close to mine, it's not going to look like mine because all wreaths are different, like starting with the grapevine, and we're all different. But even if you try to make it exactly like mine, it's not going to look like mine. Just because the grapevines are different. So the grapevine shapes are different. So that's the first thing you need to look at, which is the top that you want and which is the front and back. Yes, sometimes the front and back, one side of it looks nicer than the other. So just make sure, like, okay, which is the side that I want to be my front, which is the side that I want to be my back. And from there, a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, I like to put a sticker, a piece of paper, even if it's just a glue stick, so I know which is up, which is up. Usually what I do is I use a pipe cleaner because I work with a lot of pipe cleaners. So I take the pipe cleaner so that way I know when it holds it, this is up, this is my up. But use whatever you have in hand. If we're going to be receiving some floral picks, right? So why not use a floral pick? If you're getting floral picks, use a floral pick. That way you know, okay, this is up. This is the side that I'm working on. It's just something to give you direction so you know when you're working, right? Okay. Once your grapevine is cleaned, you know which side is up. You're going to take that and we're going to move it aside for a bit because now we're going to work on our floral bush. Take a moment. Let's go grab our floral bushes. And this floral bush, I actually cut another one, but I said I was going to just use the one that was pre-cut, but I'd rather just show you the whole step. This one has some raffia on it. We're not going to use the raffia. You could take it off. You could actually use this later on if you want to use it for something. You could save it, throw it out, whatever you want. But we will not be using it for this wreath in particular. Okay? So just toss it aside because we're not using it. Okay. Talking a lot. Give me one moment. Okay. So next, once you have your wreath, what you're going to do is you're going to start cutting. This is wrapped. So when you go to the stores and you see all these bushes, they're wrapped. So which means that every single one of these was made individually and then they were joined and wrapped together. This one, being that I work with it already, all you have to do, and I'm trying to show you as much as you can, is cut the plastic here. So take the easiest thing to do would be to use either your scissors, but if you have a scissor that you dedicate just to ribbon, then don't do it. Don't use a scissor. But the floral wire cutters, you could just cut them, right? You could just start snipping through. And then once you start pulling it, you'll see that it starts unraveling. Let's see as much as you can. See, it starts unraveling. Wait. I'm opposite. My camera's opposite, so you start unraveling it like that. See that? No, you can't see that. Ah! There you go. You start unraveling it. See that? And it starts coming apart. And then once you get to the bottom, you'll see that it's actually floral tape. It's floral tape just like the one that you're using. So you're going to take all this apart. This one's actually behaving nicely. You get to a point where you actually just like kind of, you can pull it and it comes off. See that? When you get to a certain level, it pulls off. Now, once you have that plastic off, all you have to do is, you could just pull them. They literally just pull them and take them apart. See that? We're pulling them. That's it. It all comes apart. So this is garbage now. We no longer need that. I lost my garbage. And we're gonna keep taking this apart. Nice and easy. If you see that it's a little bit hard to pull apart, then just use your scissors to pull them. Okay. Now you have all this floral tape. This is very similar to the floral tape that you've seen. Okay, so you have your floral tape there. We took it off. So now we have, let me get this out of the way so I don't get confused. I had already had one preset. Okay. So now that you have these, what I like to do is I like to separate my products. What do I have on my table? So we have greenery. So I'm going to put the greenery all to one side. Oh yeah, and don't forget to take off your price tag. Please take off your price tag, because many of us forget to take off our price tags. I'm going to cut that off. We have one. Let me take them off for you. Okay, so we have that, and I'm going to separate my greenery. So my greenery, I have these pretty little picks, and my greenery, I'm going to separate my leaves from my flowers. This is greenery too. It's a flower. Falls into the flowers bed because only one, but I'll put it with the greenery. See that? So all of these, I'm putting them aside. I don't need them yet. Okay? All right. Now, actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna leave them aside. I'll leave them aside for now. Now, what I'm gonna do now is I have my flowers, and I'm going to cut my flowers. I want them. Let me see what I had here. What I have here. 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches. Yeah, 8 inches. 7 to 8 inches. I would say 7 to 8 inches. So you're going to, and this is from the top of your flower. So from the top of your flower down to your stem, measure 7.5, 8 inches. And do that for all of them. Now, very important to know. The length of your stem could determine how full your wreath looks. If you have a stem that is longer, right, and you have your flower pop out like this, it's going to look bigger. The flower is going to look bigger. I mean, the wreath is going to look bigger. So you're going to have more product to fill in, because you have a wider space that you're filling in. If you have it tighter like this, you have a smaller, it's a more compact wreath. So it all depends. If I pull it out a little bit more, it's going to look a little bit bigger, a little bit fuller. If I take it out, it's going to look even wider. So I don't know if that makes sense. So depending on this, I only am using this size, which is 7.5 inches, because I feel like I'm trying to recreate what we have back here. Oopsie. Trying to get as close as I can to recreating this that we have back here. See that? When I said before, it's not going to be exactly the same, because they're never exactly the same. Okay. So let's try to cut them all about 7.5 inches. And as you're working with them, you might find that 7.5 inches for your wreath might be too big. You might want it a little bit smaller, or because either your grapevine doesn't work with that, or you might not want that. So it all depends on what you want. Okay, so we're cutting these at 7.5 inches, and then I'm placing them aside. That's garbage. The paper's gonna start coming off. Rip it off. try not to expose the wires that are beneath it. If it happens, it's okay. It's gonna happen. It's okay. I'll explain to you what to do, because you got a whole roll of floral tape with your kit. So no excuses. You got a whole roll. All right. So we're cutting all of these at 7.5, 7.5. I think more 7. Okay. So we have our flowers. Now we could take these flowers and set them aside. We don't need them right now, because for now we're going to work on our bow. So we're gonna take our ribbon, and like I said before, the ribbon that we received, well, that you will be receiving, has the exact amount of ribbon that you need. You don't need to have 20 inches. Thank you, miss. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful wreath, isn't it? So you are going to take the ribbon and we're going to make the bow. Like I was saying, is that the ribbon is just enough the amount of ribbon that you need. You're not receiving a full 10-yard roll of ribbon, because you don't need that. You don't need that. If you go ahead and decide to use different ribbon, then go for it. But I gave you exactly what you need, because you don't need more. You don't need more. That's why I love this kit. I really, really do love it, because it's exactly what you need. Now, before we get started on the ribbon, I told you to take out the ribbon, but there's one more step. We are going to go to our kit, and we have this wire here, right? I wrapped up just enough wire for you. Make sure not to get pricked, because you do get, it feels like a doctor's needle pinch. And we're gonna roll it out. See that? Roll it out, and try to make it as straight as you can. Right? Just try. Actually, what I would do now, which I didn't tell my friend who's here, the wreath was for her event, try to just bend it in half. Can you see that? I'm wearing black today. Usually black works, but see that? Try to just give it like a little U, because that's gonna help you with the next step. So once you do that, just place it aside. Okay? Place it aside. Okay, this card, we don't need it anymore. Put it aside. Okay. So we're gonna take our ribbon, and what we're gonna do is we're going to measure from the end up to 12 inches. Okay? Take the 12 inches and you're gonna pinch it. Right? See that? I'm pinching it. You could watch this part over and over and over again. Like I said, I've been doing this for many, many years. Bows come easy to me. Bows come to me in my sleep. I do many, many different styles of bows. Bows were not always that way for me. There were times where, if you see my bows, when I first started making them, before I learned a technique, before I had a wreath mentor, let's be clear on that. Before I had my wreath mentor and she taught me how to make bows, I would try to just wing it, and then my bows would kind of fall apart. And so I would use more wire to add this, to create a loop here, and then I use a little bit more wire to finish the loop over there. And the bows were a mess. I mean, they look pretty. In my mind, they look pretty, but there was no real technique to doing them. So if you need to rewind and go back and watch this over and over again, it's a simple bow. I added a little bit to it because I want it to look a little bit prettier, but it's not the most basic. It's like the next step up from a basic. So rewind it, okay? Don't feel bad, just rewind it. Okay, so back to this. You're gonna go 12 inches, right? 12 inches. I am right-handed, so I work with my right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to switch this over to my left. My left hand is my holding hand. So what I'm going to do is move it to the left, right? Now, this ribbon is not, I'm not gonna say the easiest to work with. It's just that we don't have a front and back to it. There is a front and back, because if you look at the edge to it, you could see that the back of the ribbon, you could actually see a little bit of the wire or the invisible thread that they used. Had it been a pattern, it'll be easier for me to say the front and back, but I'm just saying this because we still wanted to get a little bit of perk up when you do the twist. What am I talking about? Okay, hold the ribbon in your left hand, right? Now, I'm holding the ribbon. Again, this is my working hand. I'm a righty, so I move it over to my left. I'm going to take the ribbon and I'm going to give it a twist. right? I twisted it. Why? Because I want the, let's say the ugly side, the back side of the ribbon to be facing me, right? This is the ugly side, right? That's the ugly side. Why? Because I'm going to create a loop now. So I'm going to measure from here to here. So from one finger to the next finger to the next, to the next hand, I'm going to go to 10 inches. Then I'm going to fold it in. See that? And everything is still being held in these two fingers. So right here. Imagine that this ribbon had a pattern on the outside. The inside of it is like bland. It doesn't have anything. Oh, actually, let me show you right here. Let me give you an example. I have ribbons everywhere. See this? I have bows everywhere, I meant to say. See that? The good side of the ribbon has the pattern on it. The bad side, or the ugly side, unfinished side, is the one in the inside. Okay? Even though we're working with a solid colored ribbon, you still want to imagine that there's a good side and a bad side. If it's too much for you, I get it. But that's just an example. This is the good, the bad. This is why we want that good side to be on the outside. So once we have that, we're going to twist again. This is our bad side on the outside, right? On the outside, I'm sorry, we're looking at it. Wow. Okay, we're twisting it. So this is our bad side facing us. We're going to go 10 inches again. Right? And then we're going to close it again in the pinch that we have in our fingers. See that? And now we have two little loops. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut it. We're going to cut. The only place you're going to cut, you don't have to measure, you don't have to go crazy, but try to cut it to where that loop ends. See that? Where that loop ends. That's going to give you a ribbon tail. You're going to get a ribbon tail. So I'm putting it down so I don't go crazy. I put it down. There, I have a ribbon tail. See that? So that's my second ribbon tail. I have this long tail here, and then I have the small one here. I'm doing everything with these, my two fingers right here holding everything. Okay? All right. So now we're going to go back. We're going to continue. We're taking the ribbon again, and imagine the outside of the ribbon is the good side, right? So now facing on this side, you see I keep looking at it because I lose it too, guys. I lose it too. I'm going to go and I'm going to end it in the same exact spot. I'm sorry. I try to look here. See that? And I'm going to pinch it and put it right there. So that way we have like a little loop here, a little tail here, and a little tail there. See that? Please, if you need to rewind, go back and do it again. But realize I'm only doing everything with these two fingers. Okay? All right. So now that I have that one there, I'm going to give it a twist. Remember, we want the bad side out so we could make another loop. I'm giving it a twist. I'm measuring to 10. And I'm going to close it. See that? Ah, sorry. And now, cut the rest of your ribbon to match the tail, the 12-inch tail that you already have. You don't got to measure it. You already have it. So just eyeball it. And there you have a 3-ribbon loop with actually 4 streamers. Now, we can't let go of this. We can't let go of this because it'll fall apart. So now what you're going to do is, remember the floral wire? Take your floral wire, and you already figured out where the center is because we folded it. Take where your fingers are and wrap it around. Now, one thing that I've been thinking but I haven't been saying is you could determine, make sure that your loops are even. My loops are actually a little bit off. When you use your fingers, that helps you determine. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you could pull on it to see, make sure that your loops are even. It doesn't have to be perfect. But now, continue to wrap. If you see that your loops might be lopsided, you only have 3 loops, then that might be that, like if the 2 loops that are above my fingers, like the 2 loops here, seems shorter than this one's big, it just means that this wire needs to move over to the side so that way they're even. Does that make sense? Like this one is short. If this one is short like this, it's because this one, the wire in the middle, the binding point is too much to their side. You need to move it over. Okay, so now after you have 2 loops, you could drop this. You could drop it. It doesn't fall apart. Everybody makes your bows differently. I always say this to everyone. because I'm the paranoid bow maker, because I'm always afraid that I started doing this years ago, yes, but as I started developing it as a business, I was pregnant with my daughter. And then I had a baby, and I'm doing things with a little one around, and you know, you're trying to do things with one hand. How am I going to try to zip tie this? It was impossible. So I got into the habit of using wired ribbon. I really don't care about the gauge. Some gauges, you know, they're really, really thin. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I just know that once I've wrapped it around 2 or 3 times, my bow's not going to go anywhere. Okay? All right. So we have our bow. Now, this is not even. See that? My bow, see how my thingies here, my wires didn't come out even? It should be okay. Try to get them even if you can. If you can't, it should be okay, but not too short, because now we're going to use this to insert into our wreath. All right. You still have this much ribbon. You need this. You need it. Don't throw it out. Don't throw it out. You still have ribbon. So let's take our ribbon and put it aside. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it later. So now I have my wreath, right? So we're going to add our bow. The reason we add our bow first is because that's going to be like where the explosion's going to happen with your wreath. The explosion of flowers, let's say. The binding point. So I'm going to take the bow, and with these 2 wires, I'm going to insert them. And this is one of the times where you might want to use your floral, your popsicle stick. So I'm turning it so that way I have better direction of how I'm looking, of what I'm seeing. And I want it to be right around here. Because this is thin wire and the wreaths aren't too crazy, it should be easy to put the wire through. You don't want them both to go through the same exact point, because if they do, then it's going to be hard to twist them, because you want to twist this later on to make sure that your bow is secure. So I'm taking these 2 ties, 2 wires. I'm pulling them. I'm pulling them nice and tight. See that? This is what I have. Can you see that? Can you? There you go. See that? You have the tie. And then I'm just going to take them and I'm going to twist them. Twist them nice and tight. I don't like my bow to move. Be aware though, if you make it too tight, it could break because it's floral wire. So make it tight, but don't go crazy to the point that it's like so tight that all of a sudden your floral wire breaks. Okay. Once I get to a certain point, I just start twisting them both with my finger. If you had a pliers, you could use pliers to make them a little bit tighter. Okay. So now we have our bow attached to our wreath. There you go. Did I do this opposite? No, I didn't. Did I do this incorrectly? That's funny. I actually want it lower. I want it lower. See, it's okay. And I made it nice and tight too. Ah. I wasn't paying attention. It's okay. I'm going to make it a little bit lower, just because I want the flowers to be lower. Okay. Now, sometimes when you do that, when you have to undo something and then go back, then it's a little bit difficult to add the wires to it, to do them again. But my top is here. I want my flowers. I want my bow here. I went a little bit too high. And if you want it there, then go for it. It all depends what you want. This was my personal choice. If you see it and you say, no, actually I liked it up there, then go for it. So this was really one of the times where you were going to need the popsicle stick. Or you may need the popsicle stick. Saw that? A leaf flew out. Alright. So now I grab this. Like I did before, I just moved the location. I feel like it's too low. Oh my god. No, it's fine. Is it fine? Bows and signs, let me tell you. Okay. I'm just being picky because really it was fine where it was the first time. But I'm just being a little bit picky. Okay, I'm not moving it again. There it is. So now we have it and we're going to tie it. Again. Alright, I'm not cutting anything. I'm leaving it just like that. Alright. So now. There it is. That's what we have. See that? So now I'm going to place it on our rack. Not on my rack. I need a place for it to work. You do not need to have somewhere to work. You can work with it flat. But I have found like small easels. Small easels work as well. That's what we have had people working on an event and they just work just fine. So if you have a small easel that you could get like at those discount stores, they cost like $5 and they're perfect to work because they have just enough of a ledge where you could put these on. Okay, let me get the other. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my flowers. I'm going to add my flowers. So again, now this fell through. The wooden foil pick fell through. I'm going to place this here. See that? And I already know which side is up. And I'm going to add the flowers. I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to try to replicate as much as I can with the one that I already have up. The one that I already made. If you decide that you want to do something a little bit different, then go for it. If you want the flowers to be in a different location, do that. As a matter of fact, at our event, we had someone who, the filler, which I'm going to show you now how to break apart and work with the filler, she left it as is. I had two people actually only cut it in 3 pieces. I cut mine in so many pieces. And another person that left it as is, they all they did was cut it and they attached it to their wreath with zip ties. And let me tell you, it looked very pretty. So it all depends what you want. Okay, but now I have this. What I'm going to do now is, I hope your glue guns are going. You have your glue guns? Take the glue gun, add a little bit of glue to the bottom of your pick, and we're going to add it to the wreath. Now, very, very important. Oops, sorry. With the wreaths, with the grapevines, you want your florals to go with the grain of the wreath. Meaning, I am not stabbing it through the wreath. So I'm not going to put this through like this. Where you see that? We're not doing that. We're going to attach it. I'm going to go down and follow the grain of it. So that way it kind of folds into it. And because if you added glue, it should stay with it. Now, at my event, we had a few people that decided to add all the flowers without glue. That's okay. What you could do afterwards, because I understand that you might not be sure where you want it. You want to have the placement correct. You may not be sure if you love it there, or you're just working and working and working and you forget. After you have it complete, after you have all your wreaths all your florals where you want them to be, take your glue gun and carefully, please, because glue drips, remember that. Take the glue and then just start adding it to those points. If you happen to get glue on your leaves or on your florals, on the petals, leave it for a bit. It dries and then it's easier to peel off. Other than when it's wet, you're panicking trying to get it off. It's going to be harder because then you're going to actually push it more into the material, the fabric, or whatever the material is of the leaves, because they're a fabric. They're some kind of like the texture that they are is fabric like. So then once you start playing with it, you're gonna actually make it harder for you to take off. So if you do get glue on them, let it be for a little bit, and then afterwards you could peel it off. Okay, so we did the first one. See that? The next one I'm going to do is going to be the white one. If you feel that they're too big, cut them. Cut them. We cut them at 7 inches. If you feel a little bit too high, too big, like this one actually might be a little bit too big for me, I'm going to cut it like another inch. I think it's at 6 now. And I'm going to take the tip of it, add a little bit of glue, and I'm going to slide it in. Yes, there may be times that it pops out through the back. If you're able, see like this one popped out a little bit through the back there. If you're able to fix it, then go for it. If you're unable to, it's okay. I'm going to try to fix it a little bit if I'm unable to. And it also depends what you want. Like if you want to bend it to have it pop out a little bit more, again, that's what I was talking about before in terms of the bigger stems that you have, the bigger the wreath pops out. So if I want it to be compact, I'm going to push this all the way down, but I actually want it to pop out a little bit. So that's why, see, I didn't push it all the way in. I didn't push it all the way in. I wanted to have a little bit more of stem that we could play with. I always say to everyone, I have total respect, so much respect for, I mean, anybody, any kind of crafts or arts, I have respect for anyone. However, being that I'm in the floral world, but artificial florals, let's take advantage of the fact that we have wires and we can bend them. You can't do that with the natural florals, which is why I have so much respect for them, because I like arranging flowers at home, and I'm not good at it because we have the advantage that we have wires and we could play with it and we could bend it. We could do all this awesome stuff that we cannot do with natural florals. So take advantage. So see right here, I just a little bit longer, right? Because we could bend it. If I do that to a real rose, I just cut it. I broke it. So, which I've done. So that's how I learned the hard way. So, okay. So this flower, I'm leaving it right there. If I want it a little bit more, I just got to push it in. Just be careful. But remember, we have a bow there too. So we want our bow to be able to be seen. Because if the flower is all the way in the bottom, you know, you're going to lose your bow. And I keep saying it's what you want. It's whatever you want. Okay, next flower we have is a small little, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Very cute flower. Looks like a wildflower or like a dahlia, like a beginning stages of a dahlia. Okay, so I'm going to cut this one again a little bit. Should have said 6 inches at the beginning. I think I've been sticking more with 6. Add a little bit of glue. And I'm going to add this one to the side. How much do I have this one? Lower. If I want it lower. So there, I bent it. Put a little bend to it. There, right there. You can make it higher if you want it to be. But I just gave it a little bend. The way I inserted was like that, but then I used my finger, gave it a little bend, so it pops out a little bit more towards us. See that? Okay. And the glue's already in there. Next flower is going to be our, I think it is a dahlia. All right. I keep cutting them, so if you're watching the video first, then they go over 6 inches. All right, so the next one is going to be towards the bottom. See that? I did not add glue to it yet, so let me go back and add some glue. The floral tape is coming off a little bit there. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to be affected because it's not like it's completely falling apart. I'll show you now in a bit what I mean when the floral tape starts getting crazy and it starts falling apart. That's when it becomes an issue. But see, not too shabby. Like I'm actually doing a pretty good job in terms of like recreating the placements. Then finally, we have our, yeah, I should have said 6. 6. Why did I say 7.5? 6 inches. Okay, and now we're gonna add the hydrangea. Add a little bit of glue and a hydrangea. Is that where it was? Yep. I'm gonna slide it in. And sometimes, guys, they don't want to work with you. They don't want to slide in. So you need a little bit of patience. And that's what we have. See that? There, so far, we have used all of our main greenery. I mean florals. That's it. This is the base. This is everything that we needed to get started. See that? The main focals are there. Awesome. Okay. Oh, thanks for the hearts. Appreciate that. Okay. So now what we're going to add are going to be the greenery that came with the bush. Remember? We have the bush. We added our flowers, but remember all this stuff that came with it? We're going to add that stuff now. Okay. So now I'm actually going to put it back here where it was. And we're going to separate it. This one may not be exactly like the way as the other one, but that's okay. So let's separate what we have. We have these green big hydrangea leaves. I'm going to add them. I'm going to put them to the side. I like grouping. When I'm working, I like grouping. A lot of times when you're working with floral bushes, you may have a mix of flowers, but then as you start cutting it down, you realize you have, okay, I have 2 of these, I have 3 of those, and you start playing with that. I like to do that even when it comes to my leaves because I like to balance things out. Unless I'm working with groupings, meaning that you have like a group of all the pink flowers on one side, the blue flowers on the other side, the purple on the other. I like to kind of balance my designs. So as I'm working now, we're going to put everything, all my leaves together. So I know that what I have. So here I have 2 of these. I have 2 of everything, it seems. 2 of these little guys. 3 of these fillers here. And then 1 of these. So I like to work with the bigger items first and work my way down. So we have this greenery, this bush here. I'm sorry, this leaf. Now, we have this leaf. Unlike the flowers that we had before, which are pretty thick at the bottom, we have this. This is not easy to add to a wreath because it's going to slide through. It's not like we're holding the other side like we did with the wire of the bow, and it's going to stay and we're going to be able to tie it. So what we do with this is where our wooden floral picks are going to come in. So with your kits, you received wooden floral picks, right? Actually, let me leave that one there. You have our wooden floral picks, and you also received your tape. So there's different ways of using your wooden floral picks. Some people, well, first thing, the way I like to do it is I like to make sure that the tape is being used with the floral picks so that they don't fall apart. So we have this here. I'm going to cut off whatever's sticking out extra. You could just use this because now seeing that's a little bit thicker, we could get away with that. Actually, we could get away with that. Do we want to do that? No. Okay, so we're going to use a wooden floral pick. We're only going to do the 2 leaves to start. And then you'll see. You shall see. So we have this wooden floral picks. This is how you use them. I like to get close for you. I'm going to take the stick, right? And I'm going to add it to the bottom. It's actually like an extender, you could say. Then we take the wire. Luckily, this wire, you can see the color of it. And we're going to wrap it around our stem. Right? Some people work with it just like that. I don't like to do that because I feel that when you're working with a grapevine, it's going to pull off and it's going to fall off. See that? You could, but it's going to fall off. With grapevines, it does. So now we use the floral tape. Remember that big roll of floral tape that you got? Take off the end. If yours came wrapped up with all that plastic on it, just pull it off and you're going to have maybe a few, like a foot or maybe it falls apart. It's okay. So once you have that, this does matter which is the inside and the outside. So I'm going to use the inside of it. I'm going to place it on the tip, right? And then I'm going to pull. I'm going to pull a little bit. If you pull too much and it breaks, it's fine. But you notice that it starts changing as you pull. Just give it a slight tug and start wrapping as you pull. You're going to notice your fingers start getting sticky. Why? Because it has a glue. It has a sealant with it already included in it. So you saw what I did? And then you just rip it up. You just cut it with your hands. You just pull it. And I just made this a little bit longer, and it's going to be easier for me to use this with my wreath. So we have another one. Let's do the same thing. Let's cut that crazy little wire that it had. Okay. We're going to get a floral pick. I'm going to add it to the end. Let's wrap it. See that? Again, if you want to go for it, go for it. But I highly recommend using your tape. You have a whole roll. Use the inside of your tape. It might not be perfect the end. It doesn't matter because we just want to wrap. Add it to the end. I'm going to pull it. And as I pull, I start wrapping. You might want to cover the wooden floral pick because it's a different green. On behalf of all my craft stores, I apologize because now they have this crazy teal color. And then I just pulled it and we have that. Okay, so now that we have that, we could take it, add a little bit of glue to the end. And we're going to add it to the wreath. You could even add it later on if you wanted to. But we're going to add the other one. Did I add the other one? Huh, that's interesting. Oh no, it fell out. See, that's what happened with this wreath. I didn't finalize this wreath. Okay, so the other one, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the other one and I'm going to add it on the opposite side. See what I did there? This wreath is already going to look a little bit different than that one because I saw that my leaves weren't attached with the last one. So if you don't want to add them, then don't add them. That's totally fine. Now all of these I'm going to leave for later because these are filler. These add a little bit more depth and dimension to your wreath. Actually, no. Go back. I take it back. We have this one. We have this one because it's big. So it's added to the bottom. See where I added it? Look at it here on this wreath. I added it right under the peony. Right there. So I'll add it there as well. This one does not need a wood floral pick, but if you want to, go for it. I don't believe it needs it. And it depends on your wreath. Your wreath may need it, my wreath does not, but it all depends on your wreath. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to slide it in underneath. I think that one needed to stick. You know what? Let's add the pick. I'm sorry. I like these moments because you're like, wait, she didn't do it. It's fine. These moments are teachable. Like, you know what? Life is easier when you just add the pick. Because the wires are very thin and flimsy, and the floral pick gives it more support. And then the floral tape adds support to the floral pick. There you go. Okay, let's try that again. This time with the pick. Remember, we could bend. Okay. There it is. You're gonna have glue, little bits of glue everywhere. My fingers already have glue on them. Okay. So the rest of these I'm gonna put aside because I want those to be used with the filler for the end. So now we are going to work with our, where is it? Filler. This filler is phenomenal. I love this filler. I use this with all my wreaths. I think that was an extra one. all of my wreaths, well, many of my wreaths, because it just adds an extra layer of dimension, and you could bend it, you could turn it, you could do so much with this filler. So it's absolutely one of my favorites. And I'm not the only crafter that loves it. I'm the only wreath maker. We love this one. Okay, so let's go back to then the day that I had this event. When you receive something, you need to make it bigger because it looks nice and flat, right? You got to think these things came shipped from China. They were nice and tight. Then I put it in another box, shipped it to you. So if you start expanding it, you'll notice that it has 3 different sections, right? 3 separate sections. However, as you start pulling those sections, individually, you have even more. There's a lot to this guy. There is a lot. There is a lot. What I would like for you to do, I'm challenging you, is to separate it even more. So, separate it into 3, right? And like I said, some of our participants, they left it at the 3 and they were happy with that, and that was awesome. They added 1 to each side. Added 1 to each side. Boom, boom, done. Totally fine. Go for it. Oh yeah, and the last one in the middle, totally fine. They look gorgeous. I'll actually put a link here so you could see the post where everyone had their own. I made it a little bit different. I have experience doing this, and so I like to make my life more complicated. So, looking at how the way I spread it out, you have, it looks like we have more on it, but I don't. We all use the same exact materials. It's just that I took the time to break this apart and add picks to it, and then individually add each little piece. So I'm going to do that. You don't have to do that. If you're happy with this just as is, and you're going to take it, the beauty of this pick is that these all have wire. So you could take this and move it around and make it look like the one that I did there. Move this here. See that? You could do that. And if I add it just like that, boom, you're done. See that? And then take all the other ones, the ones that we had from the main bush, and spread them throughout. And you're done. As a matter of fact, I think that's what I did with the first one. Yeah, so let's do that. We did that with the first one. So we had 3 picks. So the first one, what I did was that. The first 2, we added them, we moved them around, but the last one is what we're going to take apart and we're going to fill in even more. So see how we have that first one there? But this is where I get a little bit like, I don't love it. Because look how they fall apart. See how tiny they are? I don't want this to fall apart when I'm trying to add it to my grapevine. So again, grab your floral tape. And we're going to wrap it to secure it. See that? See how it changed? See the difference from this? And all I did was add floral tape. Okay, so now you know if you start creating more items for your home and all that good stuff, that's all you gotta do. All right. So let's move this around here. You see what I'm doing? You see how I'm spreading it? I'm making this bigger. I'm gonna add it to the wreath. Sometimes it might be easier adding it to the wreath and then spreading it apart, because then you could see exactly where you want it to go. So once I have that, I'm adding glue again. I think this is my first glue stick. It's pretty good. This is number 2 now. Okay. And I'm going to grab this and I'm going to add it to the wreath right there. Okay. I did do it differently to make it easier for you, because I remember that I did take everything apart. But this is going to be a little bit easier for you. If you decide that you want to take it apart and start adding the pieces separately, then go for it. But all I'm doing here is, see how these are here? I'm just moving them around. I'm telling you, this floral spray is phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Then I'm taking this. I'm trying to make it look like the one that I have already. See that? I'm just moving everything around to kind of fill it in. See? And all I did was use one. All I did was use the one out of the three. The one up top, we're going to take that baby apart. Okay, the next one, let's do the same thing. This one I'm going to cut a little bit right here. See that? That already. Start spreading it apart if you want already, or wait till it's on the wreath. And I add a little bit of glue. I'm going to see where it's going to go in, where it's going to slide in nicely. I would like it a little bit more down. I'm going to take it out. Don't like where it went. This one doesn't want to cooperate. The other one was so nice and easy. It just went right in, and this one doesn't want to. So the thing about the foil tape is that if you start adding glue to it, it starts kind of like melting. So if you take it apart or whatever you didn't take, you may have to add foil tape again. I have a big space in my grapevine. That's what happened here. Now here we could get creative. You did receive two, you will be receiving two zip ties. So if it'll make your life easier to take a zip tie and add it to this pick that's in here, you could do that as well. Okay, how do I do this one? Okay. It's coming together. Nice. Now what I did with this guy here is that I had these long ones, the paper flowers, I made them go down. And the reason I did that was to add a little bit more depth to the wreath. Make it a little bit more length, sorry. See that? I moved them downward. And see how the wreath is filling up? Look at that. I have two picks, guys. One bush and one floral spray. That's it. That's all we're working with. Okay. Okay. I love this wreath. It's funny. My friend comes on and says, I love it. Yeah, I love it too. Created it for her. Okay, so once we have that, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but that's okay. Now, if I feel that some of these guys here are a little bit too big, sticking out too much, you could just bend them. I do recall that I had cut them and then added them afterwards, but if you want to just bend them to make them peek out a little bit, you don't want them so big, or cut them, add the wooden foil pick to it, and then reattach it, like I said before. You could do that. That's an option. Okay. But if you do decide to bend them, you don't want it to be an obvious bend. Of course not. Of course not. We want to hide all those things. These are things that if you were... In my case, I make things for customers, so I always think of the customer being the last person to receive the item, so I always try to say, well, try to make sure that everything was as professional, as awesome, as beautiful as possible, right? Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now we have this pick. Now, the first time I made this wreath, I did take everything apart, most of it apart, but it's easier to use the first two, and then let's work with the last one. So this one we do have to take apart, I'm sorry to say, but we're learning, right? So this one, if you can, start pulling it. Pull, pull, pull. See that? You have this one big stick. I actually keep these. I keep these because I always feel like we could use them for something. Alright, so this guy, I did not use it all like that. I took it apart. Well, yours may come apart differently than mine. It all depends like where your hands happen to be when you pulled it apart and where their hands were when they put them together. So I like to take off some of the paper. You don't have to. I could just leave the paper. And then I'm going to use a wooden floral pick. I'm sorry, the floral tape. And I'm going to tape up again. With the tape in the way. I'm showing you that it doesn't have to be perfect. Because this is going to be in the wreath. You're not going to see it. See that? Okay. Now I like to add length to the wreath to make it look a little bit fuller. So this one, if you see how I did it over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add that pick right over here by the peony to make it look a little bit fuller. So I'm going to add it that way. Maybe you want to add it this way. I'm going to add it this way. Remember, you're watching a tutorial. Pause, rewind, go back, take a break, go back, have something to eat. See that? And because this, again, they're so fabulously wired, they're extremely great, awesome, awesome, awesome. You could take this, hey, you know what, I want it a little bit further up here on the other side of the bow. Do it, go for it. It's your wreath, it's what you want. You don't like it, cut it out. It all depends what you want. Okay? Alright, so now, if you look here, I like to add length. So we have this big guy here. Looks a little bit crazy, right? But believe it or not, even though that's just like, it looks like a twig, it actually adds more dimension to the wreath. So we're going to add it. The way mine came apart, these are all together. I'm going to add floral tape again. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? Is it making sense? See that? And I'm going to add it to the bottom. Add some glue. Try to see where you're going to add it. And I'm going to go right underneath the peony again. If you have to put it on your table, then go for it. Put it on your table. But look what happened here. See that? Once I added it there, you may want to wait to be sure that it's placed where it's supposed to go. I'm happy. I know it's not going to move because it seemed pretty secure. And now, I actually got to pull this guy out because this guy kind of disappeared. See that? Okay. If you want to move them around a little bit, if you want them to stick out a little bit, see if I wanted to pull it in between the two flowers, you could do that. You could do that. And then the final ones, we could add them all together. What I did in this case for these, because they're so long, I cut them and I added them individually, one to each side. Even though oh, I see what happened here. I have two here. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Oopsie, shouldn't have done that because we already have two over there. Oh, and we have two over here. Look at that. Aha, now I see why I had extra ones. Okay, that means I didn't use them. Okay, so it's up to you. If you want to add them, you know what? Let's add them because you already have them, so why not? So what you could do is, this is thin again. You can add it behind the leaf. And then you have 3 there. You only have 2 on this side. I did not add glue to that. If you're looking at me like she didn't add glue, you could actually add a wooden floor because this is very, very thin. But because there's so much stuff in there now, it's actually going to stay. It gets to a point where you have a lot of product and the things should start to stay a little bit. Okay, that makes sense. That's why I kept finding those. All right, and then we have this last one, this last piece right here. Where do I want to add it? This one definitely needs a floral pick to it. Because look how flimsy it is. See how the edge? You need a floral pick. And tape it. Remember to pull as you're taping. Nothing's gonna happen if you're not pulling. There you go. And now I'm gonna add this one. This is pretty. It's like a felt. So it has like two different sides to it. You can see the back. You can tell which is the back and which is the front, but the pretty felt side is very smooth. So I'm gonna add this one right in here. I'm doing it just like I did the first one. It's like I'm not thinking. I'm not really like, where am I gonna put this? Because you know, when you're first creating an item or when you're working on something, you put a lot of thought into them. A lot of thought goes into the placement. Well, at least for me. Not for everybody. We're all wreath makers. We think a lot when we're creating. So this one, you might not like it. You might not like the placement. But that's why I bent it and I kind of hit it, tucked it in. All right. Okay. We still have more product. Where? These guys. Let's not forget about them. See what we just made? You see? You see? I get so excited. See, I love it. I love what I do. Okay, so we have them, but these now have to be cut because we have that problem here. I would definitely add wooden foil picks to them. But if you want to add them while you're laying flat on the table, if it makes your life easier, then go for it. Not all of them need it. This one's a little bit thicker, so this one would work. But these skinny guys most likely do need them because they're thin. They're thin. And also, how long do you want them? Maybe you don't want them to stick out this long. Maybe you want them to kind of hide a little bit. But do you see how they just add dimension? I get so excited. I really do get excited. All right, so let's work with our big ones first. I always like to work with the bigger ones first. And in this wreath, I added it to the top so it sticks out. Kind of a little bit of a statement piece here. And once we place them, then you can go back and play with them a little bit more. Move them around, have it pop out. Stand away from your wreath. Take some time, stand away, and you'll be able to see what works, what's not working. If you need to move things a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Make sense? All right, this one needs to be cut right there. It's not so thick. All right, add some glue. And this guy, I'm gonna place him right. See that? I'm really trying to replicate the same wreath. The last one, was it on there? Yes, it was. It's going to be a little bit different. As much as I'm trying, it's still going to be a little bit different. As I'm looking here, I have a space. That big space there kind of bugs me. So that's why I added this. Add some glue to it. And if you add glue to something, and like I said before, if you feel that it's not sticking, then go back and add the wooden foil pick. Please do that for yourself. Add the wooden foil pick, just makes your life easier. Okay, that's it, guys. We're at the end. We only have 5 little things to add. We have these little guys here, which you could add wherever you want, where you feel like you might need a little more oomph, right? Would I add them in the other one? Huh, did I even add them in the other one? I don't see them. But I do want them here. I'm going to add one here because I feel like this leaf is a little bit too, stands out too much. So I'm going to add that one there. They're cute. They're cute and they do their job. They pop out. So I'm going to add one over here, like I said before. It adds dimension. I'm telling you. I like this wreath so much. But the convenience of the kit. Let me go back because I haven't talked so much about the kit, about what the purpose of the kit. This kit was created using 3 different retailers and vendors. So if you were to buy the product on your own, you would have to go to the vendor to buy one product and pay for shipping. Then the grapevine came from a different vendor. The photo picks came from another vendor. The photo tape came from a different account that I have. The floral bush came from another place. So if you're just thinking individually, saying, okay, I could buy everything on my own, which you can, but then if you pay $15 for the floral bush plus $8 shipping, and then $10 for the spray plus shipping, it adds up. So that's why, and then you end up paying for a whole roll of wooden floral picks, or a whole, when you don't need that whole thing. That's why this is perfect. You have just the right amount of everything to work. I'm so proud of it too. Alright, so I added one there, one of the small ones. You know what? We need one over here. So I keep looking over there. Important thing that I did not say. I just realized this. How did I not say this? How did I not say this? As you're working, go with the grain of the grapevine, but you're also going to go in the direction of the wreath, of the bow. Jeez, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't say that. So, if I have my bow here, the wreaths that are, the picks that are coming out from here are going in this direction. If I have the bow here, well, the bow is here, anything that's coming out from here goes in this direction. This direction. This direction. Makes sense because of the placement of the bow. If I did not have a bow, or let's say I use just these flowers as my central binding point, then yes, we will still do the same thing. If I filled in the entire wreath, I'm going to go around the whole wreath in one direction. Make sense? Okay, how did I not say that to you guys? Oh my god. Okay, so we have these last few guys. We have 3 of them. Use them if you want to. You don't have to. But we're almost done. We're almost done. Finished. If you want to cut these before you add them, you could as well. If you don't like them, but like I said, you could bend them. You could bend them a little bit and see how they get shorter. Alright. So now we have this guy. I'm going to cut them. Do I want to cut it? Remember, cutting depends on how much depth and dimension you want. If I want it to be nice and tight, then yeah. Look, see how it has that little bit of green there? How pretty is that? Just the little details. So I'm going to add this guy. That's so funny. Like my designing is like the same. I looked at it. I'm like, where would I put this in? I look at the other wreath and it's like, that's the same place where I put it before. Because I see spaces. I see gaps. It's like, no, it needs it there. It needs it right over here. Then one more right here. I'm going to leave it because it has a stick to it. It's a little bit thicker at the bottom and it just makes it easier. We don't have to add a floral pick to it. No, I think it needs to be cut. Just got glue all over my hands. It's okay. I'm gonna cut it. This one lost its little extension here. I'm gonna add that to it. Hopefully it stays. If I need to go back and add a floral pick to it, then I will. What I added in this? I don't know where I added it there. But this time I want to add it over here because I see like a space there. I feel like I see too much of that leaf. The leaf like needs to be covered a little bit. This one needs a photo pick because in my grapevine there's a big space there, so we need to cover it. Okay. So I didn't count how many photo picks I used, but you will be receiving 10. I'll go back and I'll watch the replay and see and count to see exactly, but I think 10 should be enough with your kit. See that? There we go. So much easier. Alright. So we think we're done, but we're not. But the main part of our wreath is finished. Yay! Good job. If you made it to this point, congratulate yourself. If you've never done this before, super congratulate yourself. Because it's a big deal. It's a lot of work. This is a lot of work. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And I also had my own wreath to follow that was already done. You saw me going back and forth looking at it to make sure that that's where I wanted a placement. And you are learning how to do it. You're following along with me. So congrats. Congrats. And if you change it a little bit, kudos to you too. Alright. So now we did not use this because I did not decide to use a decide to use the full. I didn't need it. I didn't need it. If I would have decided to use the whole greenery, I'm sorry, the filler, then you definitely would have needed support to add this. I didn't need it. There was a point where I said maybe we would need it when I added the other greenery. Remember when we cut it, not the green, I keep saying greenery, the filler in 3. Then if you're having any kind of difficulty, then this might be easier because you just zip tie it to it, right? And then after you tie it, cut the end. Now let's get to the other fun part, which is we're going back to ribbon. For this, we are going to have our wreath flat, right? As flat as you can. Look at that. I have something sticking out there. See that? That's where so I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it. Did not go with the grain, guys. Did not go with the grain. Popped out. I didn't notice. It's okay. Now I'm going to stick it in. Push it in with my finger. Alright. So now I'm going to add, we're going to add the bow to the bow hanger. So you're going to use your coiled wire and make a loop that looks something like that. See that? It's going to be about 3 inches. About 3 inches. See that? See why I wear black? Because you can see the contrast. See? Alright. So now, we're going to take our bow, our ribbon. What's left of our ribbon? What's left of our ribbon? I'm looking, because I'm obsessed with the good side, bad side. And you could tell. You don't have to go crazy because you could tell. Which is the side that the edge looks nicer? That's your nice side. And I'm going to hold it. Like that. See that? Now I have a decision to make. Another decision. Where do I want this to be? Where do I want my bow to be? Where do I want the top? Am I happy with it there? Do I want it all the way up here? I feel like all the way up there is a little bit too much. But hey, it's your wreath, wherever you want it. I feel that if I hold it about there, which is about from the bottom of the ribbon on the grapevine to the top, it's about 6 inches. Yeah, about 6 inches. There I'm happy. See that? Okay, and I still have like all that ribbon on top to work with. So what I'm going to do is, please pay close attention. You know what? Let me see if I should move my phone down a little. Can I do that? Can I move my phone down a little? It's not working. How do I do this? Let me see if I can move it down a little so you can see. There you go. Then I'll come back and move it back up. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this right here, right? Okay. I lost it. What did I do with it? You're gonna take this guy here, and I'm going to place it in between. In between. See that? In between. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to hold it wherever I pinched the ribbon. See that? Does that make sense? I'm putting it in between the ribbon. And I'm holding it. Then, I'm going to hold the other side of it on. See what I'm doing? I'm going to keep doing this for you. I have my ribbon. I pinched it. I take this. I'm going to put it in between, in the middle. I pinched it again, right? I pinched it. Now, I'm holding all of it, and I'm going to start to twist this around. I want to get the top. I don't want this to be sticking out. I want to get as much as I can. See, like in this case, I didn't get enough. So we start all over again. Maybe we need a little bit more. Again, see? Watch this over and over again. Grab it, put it in the middle, pinch it. Hold it again. See that? You're holding all of it, but one of them is inside, the other one is outside. See that? Then I'm going to take the rest of my wire, and I'm going to wrap it around. Oh, perfect. You see how that's sticking out there? See a little bit? I'm going to wrap this around it on the outside. I'm going to wrap it and wrap it. Because I don't want that to fall out. If that falls out, then the wreath falls. You don't want it to be hanging. And I'm going to wrap it like 3 times. You're going to have extra. If you want to wrap it 3 or 4 times, keep going. But you see how I wrapped it? And then now I could cut it. I always like to give extra because it's better to cut. If you have too much, then to not have enough and not be able to twist it, that kind of sucks. All right. So once I have that, I cut it. Look at that. See? We have our hanger. Our hanger is done. So then decide where you want to. Now, we're still not finished, friends. We're still not finished. We did this. See? But since I'm still here, I'm going to take my scissor. And I'm going to cut it at an angle because I like cutting at angles. If you cut it too short, you can't go back. And there you go. See that? Okay. We're still with the ribbon, so let me just stay right here. We have our main tails. Our main tails were not cut, so I'm going to again cut at an angle. See that? Give it a little, if you give it a little pull, it actually curls. And then remember we had 2 little dovetails in here somewhere? 2 little tails? Where'd they go? They disappeared. Cut it at an angle if you like. Cut it, dovetail it if you want. I'm going to come in at a slight angle. This mine got short somehow, but it's okay. So that. And fluff your ribbon. Remember to fluff your ribbon. Your bow, because it's going to be lost. You have a bow, so might as well be able to see it, right? Okay. And now I'm moving things around because I want to fill in any little spaces that we have. Okay. We're not finished. We are not finished. Let's go back. Hopefully hopefully that's enough. All right. So now we have, it wasn't enough, but it's okay. So now what we have is the back. We have to clean up the back. So our back is a, remember what I said in the beginning that we have all these wires and we have all these things sticking out? Run your hand through it, see where things stick out, see where you think there's possibility for any kind of scratching or damage. And here we have this wire that I did not cut before. I'm going to cut it now. And I'm going to tuck it in. I have these bits of flowers, the floral stems that stuck out a little bit. These are the little skinny ones that I just put through. Okay, see that? And then if you see little bits of glue, is because this is a grapevine that I ever use, actually. So in case you're wondering, like, why does she have glue in all those spots? Yeah, it's a grapevine that. All right, so we have that. And now remember those leaves that I was talking about that came with your kit. You can take these leaves if you want to. If you feel that you have a lot of things being exposed here, or too many things are coming out, sticking out, they seem like to be scratching, then take the leaves. I just squished my flower. You're gonna do this. You're gonna cut it, right? Take some glue and add the leaf to the back. If the leaves are too big, trim them. And by trimming, I mean take your scissor. I don't like using my good scissors, even though this is kind of fabric. And then I just make it a little bit thinner. I'm following the same exact. Yeah. I just squished it. Squished it a bit. I just got distracted. We go back to when I see ribbon, I start pulling it. We take this now. We're going to add some glue to the back of the leaf. And then we come around and we can add it to the back. So where in the back? I mean, where can we see mechanics? Nobody wants to see mechanics. Cover the floor, the wire where the ribbon was, where the bow is. See that? So I just added that. This wreath doesn't seem to need many points. Some people like to cover their entire back, of the wreath. Go for it if that's what you like. If you don't like them at all, and you just, like I said, keep touching your wreath. Keep feeling it to see where exactly there might be a point where you're going to scratch your wreath. You don't want to do that. But that's it. There you go. There it is, guys. You did it. And how long have we been here? About an hour. Hour and a half, sorry. Hour and a half. See that? Not too shabby. You made your own wreath. And best of all, oh yeah, these things, it's going to move. If you want to place it in another direction, that's the beauty from the event. I saw photos. I'll actually post them and link them to the, I'll link that post to this. How everyone, even they put them up, they put them on their doors differently. But see, now that you have this, you learned something. You learned a few different things. You saw how those two picks, that if you go to a craft store, you saw those two picks, you say like, oh, you really, I need more flowers. No, you don't. You just need to know the techniques that you, the different little skills that you need in order to fill up the wreath with just those two bushes. I could actually have made this look even fuller just by removing some of the things off of here and putting them in here. It would have looked even fuller. But look at that, hour and a half. And that's because I'm talking to you. But an hour and a half, step by step. Because if I was going fast, you know, it's going to be a little bit faster. But here we are. We went through the kits. We opened the boxes. We took our time. We wrapped florals. We wrapped, we cut picks. We added wooden floral picks. We made a bow. We added a hanger. So we did all that in an hour and a half. which is not too bad. And we didn't even use that much product. So you learned how to use good product, because you know, let's be honest, I rave a lot about this filler is because it's amazing, and that's why us in the wreath making world, it tends to sell out a lot. So it's an advantage to be able to have it. It's a privilege to be able to have it, I feel, and to be able to offer it to you. So yeah, it's awesome. So we did a lot, hour and a half, and you learned, and you could keep doing it. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. Just change the colors, and you'll be able to do the same thing for Easter, or a winter wreath, or a Valentine's Day wreath, or a summer wreath. But you learned some skills, and it's pretty awesome. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Like I said, if you're watching the video, hashtag replay. If you are someone that purchased the tutorial, remember, keep going back and back and back and back. If you're missing things, if you want to pause, and just let me know how it's going. Really do. Let me know how it's going. You got this. It's awesome. Thank you. You could do it. You could do it. Trust me, you could do it. And if you want to change things, go for it. Change it. If you want to put the white flower or the beige flower on this side and the purple one on this side, do it. If you have your own ribbon and you say, hey, I prefer to use my red ribbon, go for it. The point is that you could do it. You see that it's not so difficult, and you're not going to have a lot of materials left over. That's the beauty of this kit. You're not going to have tons and tons and tons of stuff left over like us wreath makers do, but we end up using it. Most people, you don't. You end up having a drawer full of stuff because you don't really need it. But there you go. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to be able to offer more of these kits. Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your summer, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Take care. Bye.